Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the MHSNews album review podcast. My name is Jack Huster, and I'm going to be the host today. And today I'm going to be talking about the album 30 by Adele. If you have been living under a rock, you probably don't know, but Adele has finally returned with her latest full-length album. It's her first album since 2015's album 25, which was brought widespread critical acclaim. You couldn't really go anywhere without hearing about it when it came out. It was a whole big event, and that's kind of a theme that carries on with Adele album releases. They're all worldwide events. People tune in for them. They watch to see what's going on. People are excited for the music videos and for her tours and everything like that. Adele's a very, very special artist in the fact that she can go a really long time without releasing music, without kind of doing anything, and then suddenly she releases one song and just like that, she's back in the mainstream media. Everyone's talking about her, and she has widespread critical acclaim and success no matter basically what she does, and this album so far is no different. This is an album that comes in at a very, very interesting point in Adele's life. This album covers a lot about divorce, because since her last album came out, she got divorced from her husband, who also happens to be the father of her child, and so this album kind of goes through it's about loss of love, kind of very similar to Adele's other albums. She's known for having incredible ballads about heartbreak and things like that, but this one is a little bit different in the fact that, there's another piece of the puzzle here. She's kind of losing her family, or her family dynamic is changing. And that's something that I think is very interesting about this record compared to her other albums, is where, the last couple of albums, it's her going through heartbreak and talks about all of her emotions, but this one, it's like, oh, my heartbreak and the things that I'm going to affect other people, especially her 9-year-old son, who I'm going to talk about a lot, because he comes into play in this album quite often. The album opens up with a track that it's grown on me in the couple weeks since the album has come out. It's called Strangers by Nature. The first lyric of the entire album, I think, is a really great introduction. It just says, "I'll be taking flowers to the cemetery of my heart for all of my lovers in the present and in the dark. Every anniversary I'll pay respects and say I'm sorry, for they never stood a chance as if they could, when no one knows what it's like to be us." And I think that that's just a very, profound statement. It references back to her other albums. In 25 there's a song called Love in the Dark. And I think that was a nice little tongue-in-cheek kind of reference, but also it shows a departure from the things that she talked about on that last album, and kind of bringing us into a new world with new storylines and new people that she's talking about. The second track here is called Easy on Me, which if you have not been living under a rock, you've definitely heard a billion times by now. It's the first single from the album. It's been number one for the past 2 months since it came out. And this song, in my opinion, definitely stands up to Adele's other singles, Someone Like You, Hello, her past couple lead singles have, been very popular. They've stuck with the general public, and I think that this one's no different. This song is kind of the first taste of, those emotion-packed ballads that Adele's known for on this record, and there's a lot here as an album that I think is a lot different than her previous work, but it's an Adele album. We're going to get those sad songs, we're going to get those heartbreak songs. This one is really all about, it's about that loss of love, it's about divorce, it's about, trying to kind of describe divorce to her son. She's breaking up with her partner of a very long time, and that's a really difficult thing for her to go to, but now that, there's an entire family dynamic involved that's changing, and that fear and that uncertainty is brought out in this song, and I think that it's done in a very beautiful way. I think vocally, this is one of her strongest singles that I've heard from her in a very, very long time. I love the bridge of this song. Her vocals just kind of soar over this beautiful piano track, and I definitely think that, this is a very, very great way to introduce the album, not as in track order, but as in this is the first song that we got from the album. It was the first teaser. I think that this is a really good way to introduce the themes that she discusses on this album. And kind of playing off that, track 3, it's called My Little Love. This one is, if Easy on Me was our introduction to the storyline about divorce and about her family dynamics, My Little Love, I think, is her just diving head first. This really feels just like a peek inside of her brain at the time that she's writing this song and the time that she's going through all of these emotions. One thing that's very interesting about this song is that after every couple, after each verse or each section of the song, there's a little dialogue break. and it's an actual recording of her talking to her son, trying to explain these complex emotions that she's having about her son's father in a respectful way, and also in a way that he's going to be able to understand. She's like talking to him, like one of the quotes from it is she talks to him and she goes, "Mommy's been having a lot of big feelings recently," and like it kind of goes back and forth. He's asking questions. He's like how, and she's talking about how the feeling that she has, she's feeling confused. She's trying to describe it in a way to him to kind of so that he gets a chance to understand, but also he's so young and she doesn't really want to, kind of tear down her son's image of, his father, because that's something that's very important. And even if, Adele and her ex-husband aren't together anymore, that doesn't mean that they're out of each other's lives. They have a child that they have to raise together. And this song is really just about the uncertainty and, it's her coming to terms with the fact that, she made this decision. She's the one that divorced her previous partner, and, she's kind of figuring out the consequences of that as time goes on. I think that the song is a very interesting song, and I really, really think that, those added dialogues with her son add a lot to the story as a whole. The next song on this album is a little more upbeat. The next couple songs on the album, they tend to get a little more energized. It's kind of like my favorite run of tracks in the whole album, and I'll get into that in just a second. I want to briefly talk about the song Cry Your Heart Out. This song, it feels like a little more jazzy, a little bit. I love the instrumentation on this song. I love the intro to it. It's very catchy. It's very in your face. And it's, I don't know, the song has a very infectious beat to it, and the melody's beautiful. The next song is called Oh My God, which I believe is going to be the second single from the album. This is another upbeat track. And I love the weird, vocal chirp sound effects that play right at the beginning of it. It sounds very modern. This album doesn't sound like just another Adele album. This sounds like an evolution of what she's been doing on her past albums. And I think this song showcases that really well. The next track on the album is actually my personal favorite. It's called Can I Get It? And I could literally talk all day about how catchy I think this song is, how genius I think the pre-chorus is, going into the chorus. It has this the song has this really great build, and it feels like you're getting to this almost climactic point, and then the vocals or the instrumentals kind of cut out, and you just hear an acoustic guitar and her voice get really close to the mic, or she's just kind of asking questions, and she's just repeating. She's like, "So can I get it right now?" And then you hear this this beautiful vocal harmony that builds and builds and builds upon it. And this song, I don't know, it's hard to describe the serotonin that this song makes me feel. I absolutely love it. The next song is, I would kind of refer to it as the centerpiece of the album. It's called I Drink Wine. This song has been getting a lot of praise from critics. It starts off with her asking a bunch of questions and kind of comparing her current situation with her previous relationships. And it's very emotional, it's very raw, and I think that this song definitely, it feels much more mature. It looks like she's looking at, she's had time since, the heartbreak that we heard on Easy and Me and My Little Love, and she's kind of looking at the situation from a bunch of different angles. It's very interesting to hear her kind of, dissect her situation that she's going through and kind of reconcile with that loss of love that she's talking about throughout the album. The song is very beautiful, and I love it personally. The next track is a quick interlude. It's called All Night Parking. I don't want to spend too much time on it, but it's a good track, and I definitely think it segues into a different portion of the album. After that, it's followed up by a song called Woman Like Me, which is personally my least favorite song on the album. I think it's a really good song. I'm just not too crazy about it. The next song is called Hold On. This one also is another one that grew on me. This one and Strangers by Nature, I think, are the ones that have grown on me the most since the album came out. This one just takes a really long time to build, but when it does, when we get kind of to that last chorus, her vocals, I think it's the best that they've sounded in a very long time. I think that this is vocally the high point on the album. That's a big reason that draws people into Adele's music in the first place, is her incredible vocal talent, and I think that this song showcases that very well. After that, we have a song called To Be Loved, which is another highlight for me. This one definitely sounds very emotional, very raw. You can tell that she's kind of singing from the heart. You can hear her voice kind of break at some points, but not in like a bad way, and a very just emotional, in your face, these words that she's singing cut like a knife. It's very, very poignant. And I don't know, I think raw is just definitely the best way to describe this song. It ends with her vocals. I seriously can't get over how talented Adele is. She surprises me every single time she releases an album, and that's why so many people, look up to her as an artist. The song ends with the repetition of "Let it be known that I tried," as in, like, she tried, to be loved. She tried to do everything that she could to find real love, and, like, it didn't work out. But I think by the end of this album, we get a song called "Love Is a Game." It's the final track, and I think that it's a very nice conclusion to the narrative here, and I think that it's her looking up and realizing, like, hey, it didn't work out, but I'm gonna get through this. I've gotten through heartbreak before, and I think that she's realizing that it's okay to start looking for love again, even after something, as emotionally draining as this whole situation must have been for her. I think that this album ends on a positive note, and that's just something that I've always loved about Adele, is that her storytelling is it's very, very impressive. She has a way with words. She has a way with connecting to our audiences on such large amounts. What I love about Adele is that her music appeals to such a wide variety of people, and I definitely think that this album is something, that I think people should go into with an open mind. I don't think it's my favorite Adele album personally. I think that title still goes to 25, but there's definitely a solid collection of tracks here. There's a beautiful storyline. There's some really upbeat, fun, jazzy type moments, and some, like, R&B moments that I wasn't expecting. So there's definitely a lot to work with here, and I definitely recommend checking it out and giving it a listen. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Album Review Podcast. If you've listened to this album, I want to know, what did you guys think about this? And other than that, thank you so much for listening, and I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. 30 by Adele is out now, and it's available to stream on all major streaming platforms.